Hello, my name is Laura, and I'm feeling really anxious about this election and I have a really bad glare in my glasses. I am in the process of moving things around my house. I finally got my new couch, which means I had to move my bookshelves upstairs. My office is clearly a mess. This is a mirrored screen I'm looking at, so I don't know my left from right. And my bookshelves are almost in order, but not entirely, and my desk is not in a good place for me to have my tripod where it's at. Hence the glare. I think that's my computer giving me a glare, but I can't do this video without my glasses. So we're just kind of stuck at this weird angle. But because I am feeling so anxious about this election, I wanted to talk about books to take my mind off of what I think will be a very long and stressful week. So let's talk about some books that are coming out in 2025 that I'm really excited for and will hopefully keep me from spiraling. So I've made a playlist. I made a playlist. I keep a bookshelf. That's the word. I keep a bookshelf on my Goodreads for the current year and for the following year, books that are coming out that I'm excited for. For the current year, I usually keep them on there and then take them off as I buy and read them. And then at the end of the year, I just kind of remove them all. But it kind of gives me, a way to kind of track what I'm reading in terms of new releases. I do actually have a spreadsheet from Hardback Hoarder. She sells it on Etsy now. I will link the Etsy page and her channel. I don't remember offhand what it is. I've been using it for a couple years now. It's a fantastic spreadsheet. I love it. But for Goodreads, because that is the second place I spend a lot of my time, it does help me keep track of like what I'm buying. And it's easier for me to access in a store if I'm like, oh, I want to look at the new releases. All of that to say, I've been compiling this list for 2025 over the year. And I will continue to add to it next year, but we're going to talk about the 20 or so titles that I currently have on this list and a couple more that are not necessarily on the list because they don't exist. You might be asking, how can we talk about them? We'll get there, I promise. Or not. Depends on if I remember. Oh, you can see I have Uzumaki on the floor. I might be getting rid of that. That's why it's sitting there and hasn't gone anywhere. I can't decide if I want to keep it because I'm never going to reread it. It made me viscerally uncomfortable. But it was a good book. It was well done. It accomplished its job, but the body horror was too much. Anyway, let's see. I made a list on Goodreads, but I also made a list on Google Sheets that put these in order so I could talk about this like an intelligent person. Who would have guessed? Certainly not me. Okay. I have 23 books and my Goodreads only has 21. Somebody's missing, which is going to make this fun when I try and read the descriptions. Okay, starting with January, I have 4 books. 4 books coming out in January that I want to read, that 3 of which are from authors I have read before. How exciting. And all right, let's get into it. I'm obviously not prepared and I'm stressed. Okay, so the first book that's coming out January 7th, and also for the record, all of these dates that I'm reading, to the best of my knowledge, are the American release dates. I know some of these authors may have different release dates for different countries. I did not look into any of that. This is just the first date that I found. And typically when I do these types of research, they will show me American dates because I am American. So anyway, the first one coming out January 7th is Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear by Seanan McGuire, which is book 9 in the Wayward Children series. And wait, it's book 10? Are you Oh. Well, it's not Cade's, I know that, so she's got more coming because she said, right, that Cade is the last book. Nadia had 3 mothers, the one who bore her, the country that poisoned her, and the one who adopted her. Nadia never considered herself less than whole, not until her adoptive parents fitted her with a prosthetic arm against her will, seeking to replace the one she'd been missing from birth. It was cumbersome, it was uncomfortable, it was wrong. It wasn't her. Frustrated and unable to express why, Nadia began to wonder until the day she fell through a door. Nadia began to wander until the day she fell through a door into Belireka, the land beneath the lake, and found herself in a world of water, filled with child-eating amphibians, majestic giant turtles, and impossible ships that sailed as happily beneath the surface as on top. In Belireka, she found herself understood for who she was, a drowned girl who had made her way to her real home, accepted by the river and its people. But even in Belireka, there are dangers and trials, and Nadia would soon find herself fighting to keep hold of everything she has come to treasure. I'm pretty sure, and I'm so bad at remembering the characters in this series. I'm pretty sure we have seen her before. I don't specifically remember which books she has been in, but I'm pretty sure that we've seen her. I've read all the Wayward Children series. I've read the Alchemical Journey series. I've read the horror novel by Mira Grant. The Drowning one. Oh my god. What is that called? The Killer Mermaid book? This book. It's so good. Anyway, I've read a lot of Shauna Maguire and I love her. The next one, we've got two coming out. On January 14th is The Last Room on the Left by Leah Conan, which I have not read from her before. And this is a thriller horror mystery. Carrie's life is in shambles. Her husband has left her, her drinking habit has officially become a problem, and though the deadline for her big book deal, the one that was supposed to change everything, is looming, she can't write a word. When she sees an ad for a caretaker position at a revitalized roadside motel in the Catskills, she jumps at the chance. It's a perfect getaway to finish her book and start fresh. But as she hunkers down in a blizzard, she spots something through the window, a pale arm peeking out from the heap of snow. Trapped in the mountains and alone with a dead frozen body, Carrie must keep her head and make it out before the killer comes for her too. But is the deadly game of cat and mouse all in her mind? The body count begs to differ. Andrea Bartz has blurbed this saying it is a feminist take on The Shining, which is very interesting. I loved the movie. I don't like Stephen King's writing, so I haven't read it. But I'm excited about that. Then again, on January 14th is Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. I have read everything by Alice Feeney, and I am quite excited for this one. I've got a cat on my desk. Hi, baby girl. She does this to me during meetings too. It's quite funny. Okay. Author Grady Green is having the worst best day of his life. She doesn't frequently do male protagonists. Grady calls his wife to share some exciting news as she is driving home. He hears Abby slam on the brakes, get out of the car, and then nothing. When he eventually finds her car by the cliff, the headlights are on, the driver door is open, her phone is still there, but her wife has disappeared. A year later, Grady is still overcome with grief and is desperate to know what happened to Abby. He can't sleep, he can't write, so he travels to a tiny Scottish island to try and get his life back on track. Then he sees the impossible, a woman who looks exactly like his missing wife. Wives think their husbands will change, but they don't. And husbands think their wives won't change, but they do. I feel like Alice is a little bit hit and miss for most people. I have loved pretty much everything she's written. I have basically no notes. She is someone that I am always excited to read from. She is almost always an annual author. I do think she did not have one in 2024, but this coming out in January, it's like close enough. I mean, not for me, I want it yesterday, but NetGalley, if you hear me, I want the ARC approved. And the last one coming out in January is The Crash by Frida McFadden. Speaking of authors who are divisive, I am a Frida stan. I love her. I fully appreciate the criticisms of her. Like, I will not defend her as being the best author of all time, but she is fun. I know what I'm getting into with her and I have a good time. And I'm excited for her next book, which I'm sure she's going to have like 16 books come out next year because that is who she is. And I have not read everything she's ever written, but I don't know if I've gotten close, but I'm making good headway. The Crash is about did I say when it's coming out? January 28th? That's when it's coming out. The nightmare she's running from is nothing compared to where she's headed. This must be a lot of arcs already. This has 99 ratings, 29 reviews, and a 4.17. That's just like a lot for a book that's not out yet. Tegan is 8 months pregnant, alone, and desperately wants to put her crumbling life in the rearview mirror. So she hits the road, planning to stay with her brother until she can figure out her next move. But she doesn't realize she is heading straight into a blizzard. I love a good winter thriller. And I, so far, off the top of my head, can only think of two that have really, like, just gotten me into that, like, blizzard, cold, snowy feel, which is The Overnight Guest by Heather Gudenkoff and the Taylor Adams one, No Exit. Both of those just, like, made me feel cold, and I loved it. Anyway, Tegan never arrives at her destination. Stranded in rural Maine with a dead car and a broken ankle, Tegan worries she has made a terrible mistake. Then a miracle. She is rescued by a couple who offers her a room in their warm cabin until the snow clears. I'm getting Misery vibes. But something isn't right. Tegan believes she was waiting out the storm, but as time ticks by, she comes to realize she is in grave danger. This safe haven isn't what she thought, and staying here may have been her most deadly mistake yet. Now she must do whatever it takes to save herself and her unborn child. Then in February, we have 3 books. Where's my camera? We have 3 books coming. And it is one of my most anticipated books of all time. And the first one on this list is, in fact, that one that I'm super hyped for, and that is Under the Same Stars by Libba Bray. If you don't know me, I am a Libba Bray stan, first and foremost. I'm obsessed with her. I love everything she has written. The Diviners is my favorite series of all time. Like, genuinely, I love it so much. The last book, I was sobbing. I love it. I love that she's kind of created a little bit of like a cinematic universe where all of her stories take place within the same realm. And by that I mean the Gemma Doyle trilogy and the Diviner series take place in the same realm. The rest of her books are not part of this. And the way Under the Same Stars, the description, that makes me think there is a possibility we could see the Diviners again, and I would just die. I would die. Again, publisher, if you're listening, I am dying for an arc. I have reached out. I have not gotten a response. I want one so bad. Okay, but what is Under the Same Stars about, you might ask? It is said that if you were to write the bridegroom's oak, the love of your life will answer back. Now the tree is giving up its secrets at last. In 1940s Germany, Sophie is excited to discover a message waiting for her inside the bridegroom's oak from a mysterious suitor. Meanwhile, her best friend Hannah is sending messages too, but not to find love. As World War II unfolds in their small town of Kleinwald, the oak may hold the key to the resistance against the Nazis. In 1980s West Germany, American teen transplant Jenny feels suffocated by her strict parents and is struggling to fit in, until she finds herself falling for Lena, a punk rock girl hell-bent on tearing down the wall separating West Germany from East Germany, and meeting Frau Herrmann, a kind old lady with secrets of her own. In spring 2020, New York City, best friends Miles and Chloe are in the first weeks of the COVID lockdown and hating Zoom school. When an unexpected package arrives from Chloe's grandmother, this leads them to investigate a cold case about 2 unidentified teenagers who went missing under the bridegroom's oak 80 years ago. I love everything about that. And the Diviners takes place, like, it ends right before World War II starts. So there's just like so much possibility for them to make cameos. And I just need to know that they're all alive and well, and I love them so much. I'm so excited. Regardless if they're in it or not, I'm really excited about that. She's really good with the historical fiction with fantasy elements, which I suspect this will be as well. Then on February 6th, we have Blob, a love story by Maggie Sue, which is one of the coolest covers, I think there's more than one cover. I like this one. And there is another one with like a literal blob on it. It's not as cool. Hilarious and moving debut novel about a young woman who decides to turn a sentient blob into her perfect boyfriend. Quite frankly, that is enough for me. I'm sold. A daughter of a Taiwanese father and a white mother, V. Liu has never quite fit into her Midwestern college town. Now at 23, after getting dumped and dropping out of college, V works as a front desk attendant at a hotel where she refills cucumber water, samovars, and fends off overtures of friendship from her bubbly blonde coworker Rachel. But when V decides to accompany Rachel to a local drag show, her life changes forever. And the alley outside the bar, next to a trash can, is a blob with beady black eyes. Unable to leave it behind, V picks up the creature and in a moment of drunken desperation, takes it home with her. As her pet blob becomes sentient, V realizes it obeys her commands, and she decides to mold the blob into her ideal partner. She feeds it sugary cereal and a stream of pop culture, and soon the creature transforms into a movie star handsome white man. But as V's desire to be loved unconditionally threatens to spiral out of control, she's forced to confront her lonely childhood, the ex-boyfriend who unfriended her, and the racial marginalization that has defined her relationships. Ultimately, V embarks on a journey of self-discovery and learns that it is impossible to control those you love. Fantastic. And the last one in February is A Box Full of Murders by Janice Hallett, also coming out February 6th. And this is her middle grade debut. And I've only actually read one Janice Hallett, but I loved it. And I have, I think, everything except for the one that came out this year on my shelves already. And I really want to read more from her. The fact that this is middle grade does mean I will probably not pick it up immediately. I will probably suss it out at the bookstore or the library before I actually commit to buying it, because I'm hit and miss on middle grade. When it hits, it's so good. And when it misses, it really misses. So I don't want to necessarily buy it until I have a chance to kind of flip through it and see. But I'm excited. I love seeing authors branch out in different ways. And I like that she's doing a murder mystery for middle grade. I think that's I feel like that market was very much tied to like Goosebumps. So I love seeing more people branch out. When siblings Ava and Luke discover a mysterious notebook in their dad's attic, they are instantly intrigued. And as they read through the letters, diary entries, newspaper cuttings, and notarized secret recordings, they realize that a decades-old unsolved murder case is unfolding right in front of them. To discover what really happened, Ava and Luke turn detective to try and crack the case, but soon realize the killer might still be out there, and they might be closer than they think. You know the facts, you have the clues, and can you solve the mystery before they do? So it kind of feels like interactive. That just sounds fun. In March, I have a lot. I have 5. It's not a lot, but it's like a lot more than other months. And starting off, we have The Dream Hotel by Layla Lalami coming out March 4th, and I have not read from her before. Sarah has landed at LAX, returning home from a conference abroad, when agents from the Risk Assessment Administration pull her aside and inform her that she will soon commit a crime. Using data from her dreams, the RAA's algorithm has determined that she is at imminent risk of harming the person she loves, her husband. For her safety, she must be kept under observation for 21 days. The agents transfer Sarah to a retention center where she is held with other dreamers, all of the women trying to prove their innocence from different crimes. With every deviation from the strict and ever-shifting rules of the facility, their stay is extended. Months pass, and Sarah seems no closer to release. Then one day, a new resident arrives, disrupting the order of the facility and leading Sarah on a collision course with the very companies that have deprived her of her freedom. That just sounds so good, like Big Brother on crack. Then we have You Killed Me First by John Mars, coming out March 4th. And the only things I've read from him are the one series that he won't call a series, but I'll die on the hill that it's a series. I had a dream that he finally called it a series, and like Goodreads was updated to include the fact that it was a series, and I felt so vindicated, and I'm just now realizing that wasn't real. How embarrassing. Good thing I did not tell the internet about it. And let's see, let me find this. Unless this is the one that's not on my list. This is just a standard standalone mystery thriller, so it's not part of the one universe, but I do love those ones from him. Those are my favorite. I say, having not read the other ones, the one universe is so fun. 3 women, 3 smoldering secrets. Who will make it out alive? It's November 5th, and a woman awakens to a nightmare. Bound and gagged, she lies trapped in the heart of a towering bonfire. As the smoke thickens, panic sets in. She is moments away from being engulfed in flames. How did it come to this? Rewind 11 months, Margot, a faded TV star, and her long-suffering friend Anna watch as glamorous Liv and her flawless family move into their street. The three women soon fabricate the perfect pretense of friendship, but each harbors her own deadly secret, and newcomer Liv senses something terribly wrong beneath the polished exteriors. As the crack widens in the veneer of perfection and lies escalate out of control, tension ignites. Bonfire night is approaching and someone is set to burn, but who will it be? Ooh, I love that. Then we have The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones coming out March 18th. And while I have not read everything by Stephen Graham Jones, he is quickly becoming one of my favorite authors. Even though I normally don't like stream of consciousness writing, he does tend to suck me in regardless. And The Buffalo Hunter is a fun title to say. A diary written in 1912 by a Lutheran pastor is discovered within a wall. What it unveils is a slow massacre, a chain of events that go back to 217 Blackfeet dead in the snow. Told in transcribed interviews by a Blackfeet named Goodstab, who shares the narrative of his peculiar life over a series of confessional visits. This is an American Indian revenge story written by one of the new masters of horror, Stephen Graham Jones. That sounds fantastic. And then we have what is my next most anticipated book of the year. Both of these are YA. For the most part, I don't read a lot of YA anymore compared to before, but it is Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins coming out March 18th. And that, if you don't know, is the 5th book in the Hunger Games series. Canonically, I believe it would be, I don't know what, does she number it on Goodreads? Because like on the one, okay, it's 0.5 on Goodreads, but then what is the other prequel? And okay, I'm going to deviate. I am not actually going to read the description of this book. I don't want to know. I know Haymitch is the star, and I knew it was his games. That's all I know. That's all I want to know, and I will not be reading more. I'm sorry. But the fact that it's Haymitch's game, oh, okay, so Ballad is just 0. All right. But yes, Sunrise on the Reaping is going to start presumably on the morning of Haymitch's games, and he was in the 50th Hunger Games where they had 2 tributes per sex per district, so there was a total of 48 victors. Nope. No. 48 tributes. Is that right? There's 12 districts. 12, 24, 48. Yeah, okay. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. That's the only emotion, because I don't know the plot, and I don't want to know the plot. I want to be surprised. So that's all I know. That's all I want to know. I can stop saying that now. Then we have Twist by Colum McCann coming out March 25th. I have not read anything by him. Anthony Fennell, an Irish journalist and playwright, is assigned to cover the underwater cables that carry the world's information. Side note, does anyone else find it wild that our internet is just like in the ocean? The sum of human existence, words, images, transactions, memes, voice, viruses, travel through the tiny fiber optic tubes. But sometimes the tube breaks at an unfathomable depth. Oh, claustrophobia. Fennell's journey brings him into the west coast of Africa, where he uncovers a story about the raw human labor behind the dazzling veneer of the technological world. He meets a fellow Irishman, John Conway, the chief of mission on the cable repair ship. The mysterious Conway is a skilled engineer and a free diver capable of reaching extraordinary depths. He is also in love with a South African actress, Zanelle, who must leave to go on her own literary adventure to London. Okay, that seems like a weird aside. When the ship is sent up the coast to repair a series of major underwater breaks, both men learn that the very cables they seek to fix carry news that may cause their lives to unravel. I don't know why I cannot read today. At sea, they are forced to confront the most elemental questions of life, love, absence, belonging, and the perils of our severed connections. That just sounds very interesting, even though I feel like I read it terribly. Then in April, I have 2. We have, of course, A Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, coming out on April 22nd, which is my bestie's birthday. She is not into Emily Henry yet, unfortunately. But we're trying. We're getting there. Alice Scott is an eternal optimist, still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they're both on balmy Little Crescent Island for the same reason: to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least to meet with the octogenarian who claims to be the Margaret Ives, tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. When Margaret invites both of them for a 1-month trial period, after which she'll choose the person who will tell her story, there are 3 things keeping Alice's head in the game. 1. Alice genuinely likes people, which means people usually like Alice, and she's had a whole month to win the legendary woman over. 2. She's ready for this job and the chance to impress her perennial unimpressed family with a serious publication. And 3. Hayden Anderson, who should have no reason to be concerned about losing this book, is glowering at her in a shaken-to-the-core way that suggests he sees her as competition. But the problem is, Margaret is only giving each of them pieces of her story, pieces they can't swap to put together because of an ironclad NDA and an inconvenient yearning pulsing between them every time they're in the same room. This one's fun. A little romance, a little mystery. I'm here for it. And the other April book is The Staircase in the Woods by Chuck Wendig. I have also not read from Chuck before. Emily, I have read everything but A Happy Place, and I don't know if I will read A Happy Place, honestly. But Staircase in the Woods, coming out on April 29th. A group of friends investigates the mysteries of a strange staircase in the woods. 5 high school friends are bounded. Oh my God. I need to go to bed. It's literally 7:30. I should not be this messed up. 5 friends. I need to bash my head into something. 5 high school friends are bonded by an oath to protect one another no matter what. Then on a camping trip in the middle of the forest, they find something mysterious, a staircase to nowhere. One friend walks up and never comes back down, and then the staircase disappears. 20 years later, the staircase has reappeared. Now the friend group returns to find the lost boy and what lies beyond the staircase in the woods. I rarely hear my neighbors, and then when I do, I'm like, what? I have nothing for May. There's no way that's going to stay like this. Oh, well, I have a couple more that, looking at this list, I have 3 that are out of order. But I'll jump right to another one in April. She's a Lamb by Meredith Hambrock, coming out April 8th, which I do have an arc of, so I have not read it yet. I need to do that. And that is not on my list. I'm almost positive. Oh, no worries. You know what is on my list? The Sweet Valley graphic novel. We're not going to talk about that. That's just something little me needs to feel alive. She's a Lamb. Which also, are we not obsessed with this cover? Because I am. Look at it. It's beautiful. A darkly comic suspense in the vein of All's Well and Yellowface, 2 books that I loved. She's a Lamb is an edgy and incisive novel that marches toward showtime with a growing unease about the dangers of magical thinking and the depths of delusion. Jessamine St. Germain is meant to be a star, not an actor who occasionally books yogurt commercials and certainly not a lowly usher at one of Vancouver's smallest regional theaters. No, she is bound for greatness, and that's why the part of Maria in the theater's upcoming production of The Sound of Music is going to be hers. Jessamine may have been relegated to the position of childminder for the little brats playing the Von Trapp children, but it's so obvious she is there for a different reason. The director wants her close to the role, so when Samantha, the lead, inevitably fails, Jessamine will be there to take her place in the spotlight. That must be it, because if it isn't, well, then every skipped meal, every brutal rehearsal, every inch won against the man attempting to drag her down would have all been for nothing. And it is a cutting satire about the grotesque patriarchy cast over one woman's delusional quest to achieve her dreams. It just sounds really interesting, and I love the cover. And then I'm just going to skip over to these ones that are also out of order. The next one is Serial Killer Support Group by Saratoga Schaefer, also one that I have an arc for. When Syra Griffin's younger sister is murdered by a serial killer, Syra knows better than to expect justice from the hands of the police department. With the investigation already dying its own slow death, Syra follows the blood trail and finds her own way forward. Using insider information, don't ask, Syra infiltrates a support group for serial killers by pretending to be one herself in the hopes of finding the person who ended her sister's life. Proving herself to them comes at a cost, but it's one Syra is willing to pay in the name of revenge. Unfortunately, the dangerous men in the group aren't the only obstacle in Syra's path for vengeance, and the further Syra defends into the deadly world of serial killers, the harder it becomes to hold on to her own humanity. That sounds amazing. And the last one that was not in order is another YA one that I have an arc for. I'm sensing a theme here. And that is No Place Left to Hide by Megan Lally. I read her debut a couple weeks ago, which was That's Not My Name, which I really enjoyed, and I think it's fantastic for what it is for its audience. As a reader, I wanted it to be a little bit darker and a little bit grittier, but I understand that for YA, it was probably never going to get that dark. But I had a good time, so I'm really excited to read her next one. To Brooke, image is everything. She works hard to maintain perfect grades, perfect looks, and a perfect life, especially after the incident that threatened it all. Getting into her dream university puts her that much closer to a fresh start. How can she say no to celebrating with all her classmates? Hanging out with her crush by the bonfire is a perfect end to the night, except it isn't the end. An old truck starts aggressively tailing Brooke and her best friend on the isolated road towards home. Someone thinks they know the truth about the incident, and they won't stop until it's all out in the open. So it feels kind of like a road trip, or not really, but like terror on the road. Perhaps what Survive the Night was trying to be, but couldn't. Anyway, that comes out January 7th, and I will be reading that arc hopefully this month. That is my plan. We'll see if that pans out. And then back to June, since I have nothing for May. I have 2 for June, starting with Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And when I tell you, I am so excited for a vampire story from V.E. Schwab, because The Hole, that's a Netflix show that she wrote. As I say, it's leaving a hole in my heart, and I forget the name of it. First Kill. She wrote the short story in Vampires Never Die or whatever, and that was great, but the show was so good. And I realized that this is not going to be a continuation of that story, but I'm still excited that she's doing more vampires. That comes out June 10th, and oh wow, there's like no description. Santo Domingo de la Calzada, 1532, London, 1837, and Boston, 2019. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil. She also does this while I'm working. And then, yep, she's gonna, oh, she didn't. Normally she crawls down my chest. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. I'm just so excited for that. Then we have With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. He is turning into a hit and miss for me, but he's still currently an auto buy for reasons unknown. That is coming out, oh, that's coming out July 3rd. It's not even coming out in June, so I got that math wrong. July 3rd. Hey, what are you doing? You know better than that. 6 people ruin Anna Matheson's life. 4 men and 2 women associated with her father's train engine company, who orchestrated an act of sabotage in 1942 that resulted in the deaths of 37 others, including her only brother, and framed her father for the crime. Now it's 1954. Ooh, he doesn't do historical often. And usually it's like a side note, not the main plot. Now it's 1954, and Anna is ready for retribution. She has gathered the 6 on an overnight oh! Okay. I had thoughts on this before. I didn't realize I've like read this whole description already. She has gathered the 6 on an overnight train from New York to Chicago and announced that she is proof of what they did and that all 6 conspirators will be arrested when the train arrives in Chicago. At 8 p.m., the train departs, and by 10 p.m., one of the 6 has been murdered. But Anna isn't responsible for the killing, and there's no one else on the train. Someone else is enacting their own form of revenge, and they're making it look like Anna is behind it. So this is immediately giving me Murder on the Orient Express vibes. And I'm excited. I feel like when he does an homage, it does pretty well with me. I can think of none off the top of my head, but I'm going with that statement anyway, with no facts. Just a quick editing Laura note. I was thinking of Ruth Ware. Ruth Ware is the one that does homages. I don't think Riley Sager has ever done like a retelling or an homage that I'm aware of. I was fully thinking of One by One and The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware. So that's what I meant. Wrong author entirely. I do still think With a Vengeance has the vibes of Murder on the Orient. I do think this might actually be an homage to that, but I was fully just confusing Riley with Ruth, which is insane because I know Riley is a man. So that's all. Plus, I mean, it's Riley Sager. I'm gonna read it. We know I am. Okay, bye. Then the last one in July is The Library at Hellebore by Cassandra Kaw. I have some serious concerns about this one, but it sounds interesting all the same. This is coming out July 22nd, but the description has the vibes of being written by AI, which has me tentatively concerned. But she's written multiple books, so I'm gonna try and I've already had struggles reading, and now I know this one is going to have like typos in it. So the Hellebore Technical Institute for the Gifted is the premier academy for the dangerously okay, so this is what it says: for the dangerously, the Antichrist, and the Ragnaroks. Like, obviously there's a word missing. The dangerously something. The world enders and the apocalypse makers. Hellebore promises redemption, acceptance, and a normal life after graduation. At least that's what Alyssa Lee is told when she's kidnapped and forcibly enrolled. But there's more to Hellebore than meets the eye. On graduation day, the facility go on a ravenous rampage, feasting on Alessa's class. Only Alessa and a group of her classmates escape the carnage. Trapped in the school's library, they must offer a human sacrifice every night, or else the faculty will break down the door and kill everyone. So, like, that sounds super interesting, but the fact that this has typos in it has me concerned about the, like, editing quality, but I'm still excited. Then we have Skybriar by Talia Hibbert on August 15th. I have been waiting for this for like 2 years, to the point that I kind of forgot I was waiting for it. I've only read The Brown Sisters by her, and I love that. And I'm assuming that the Brown Sisters will make appearances in this. The reason I say it weird like that is because the Skybriar sisters or whatever were like, I didn't care about them when I was reading The Brown Sisters. So I'm tentatively excited, but I'm like more excited to see what the Brown Sisters are up to right now, because I don't feel like I know enough about the Skybriars. Nugget is now crying because she has a toy in her mouth. And there is no description for Skybriar, so all of their rambling was for nothing. Hi, baby. You want to show your toy? There she is. She runs around with the blueberry in her mouth and cries. It's actually the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life, and I die every time. Then we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang, which I am already so hyped for. And then I read the description, but this comes out August 28th, and it is going to follow. Hi! Okay, you feeling good? Feeling saucy? Two academic rivals from Cambridge must travel to hell to rescue the soul of their advisor. Getting there was easy. Surviving it and each other is another thing entirely. That's all I know. That's all I need to know. I'm immediately buying it. I'm so hyped. What? Okay. And then we have what I'm going to call a 2025 hopeful, which is Victorious by V.E. Schwab, which is the third in the Villains series. I still have not read book 2. Don't come at me. It does not have a release date or a description, and because she has a book coming out next year, I don't know that this one is going to come out in 2025, but I'm going to be hopeful all the same. And let's see. I talked about all of those. Okay. So then what is left are, we have Untitled new novel by Catherine Stedman, which is coming out July 29th. I'm super excited. There is no description. There is no nothing. But I just finished Look in the Mirror the other day and I am obsessed with it. It was so fun. I really enjoyed the other one she wrote. It was a solid 3-star. It wasn't my favorite book of all time, but I had fun with it. The Family Game. So I'm excited. She's turning into a new favorite author for me. And then we have the books that, oh, you know what I didn't put on here? The new Ruth Ware book. That's unlike me. I was just gonna say, I have a lot of annual authors who I don't necessarily have the details on their upcoming book, but they're pretty consistent with an annual release, Ruth Ware being one of them. But I do recall there is info on her newest book. Untitled, book 10. That's probably why it's not on this list. Her 10th book is supposedly coming out July 8th. As per usual, I will be buying it and reading it because I do love me a good Ruth Ware. Other authors that I'm hoping will have a new release, but probably won't, are Jodi Picoult and Kristen Hanna. Jodi is more close to being an annual release, sometimes 2 years, but she's pretty consistent every 1 to 2 years with a new book. I know she is working on another book. She teased it on TikTok, I think, so I'm excited for that. Kristen Hanna is by no means an annual author, but I'm just excited for her to write another book anyway. And I think that's everything that I know right now. This has fully distracted me for 45 minutes, give or take. All right, let me know what you are excited for, and the fact that there's already like 26 books that I want to read next year. And my TBR is never getting smaller. Who invented this hobby? It's killing me in the best way. Okay, I will see you guys in a video in the future where hopefully America hasn't fallen to fascism. Okay, bye.